I work night shift at a small business hotel, one of those beige stucco buildings you pass along the interstate without a second glance. 3 stories, basic breakfast in the morning, lukewarm coffee in paper cups, and a lobby that hasn't been updated since 2009. My job was simple: check guests in, answer the phone, hand out Wi-Fi passwords, and try not to fall asleep before sunrise. After midnight, I was usually the only person on staff. Security was more of a concept than a system. We had cameras, but nobody actually watched them unless something happened. Sometimes the janitor passed through, but for the most part, it was just me. So when a DoorDash guy showed up around 1 a.m., it didn't raise any red flags. He looked ordinary, mid-40s maybe, wearing jeans and a polo under a zip-up hoodie. He held up a red thermal bag and said he had a delivery for room 214. I buzzed him in and pointed toward the elevator. Seemed simple. He nodded and headed down the hallway. 10 minutes passed. I went back to reviewing some reports on my screen. I barely thought about him again, until I looked up and saw him back in the lobby. This time, the delivery bag was gone, and he was sweating. Not because it was hot. The thermostat read 60 degrees, and the guy looked like he'd run through a heat wave. His shirt clung to his back. His eyes darted. He gave a strained smile and said he'd forgotten to ask about the tip. It was weird. No one ever asked for a cash tip after the delivery. Everything was through the app these days. But I stayed polite and nodded. He lingered, like he wanted to say more, but didn't. Then he turned around and left. The way he moved set something off inside me. Too slow, too rehearsed, like someone pretending to look casual but failing. I checked the camera monitor out of instinct, flipped back to when he came in. He took the elevator just like he said he would. But instead of stopping at room 214, he kept walking, past the room, down the hall. Then he turned into the staff hallway, the one behind the guest rooms, the one only employees use. That corridor leads to 2 things: maintenance storage and the staff restroom. No guest or delivery driver should be back there. I fast-forwarded the footage. 10 minutes later, he came back down the same hallway. No bag, nothing in his hands. He passed through the lobby and left the building. I grabbed my flashlight and walked down the staff hallway. It was quiet. The closet was locked. The restroom was empty. Then I noticed something. The small rectangular window above the toilet, just big enough to squeeze through, was cracked open. I'd worked at that hotel for years. That window was never open. The sink beneath it was damp, like someone had stepped on it. My stomach dropped. I turned around and headed back to the desk. Pulled up the backlot camera feed, the one facing the rear parking area. There he was, crouched next to a white SUV, one of the guests' vehicles. The food bag was gone. In his hand was something thin, a wire, a coat hanger. He was trying to break in. I watched the screen in disbelief. Then I reached for the phone and called room 214. A woman answered, sounded half asleep. She hadn't ordered anything. I told her to lock the door and stay inside. Then I called the police. They arrived within 7 minutes. I showed them the footage. They checked the backlot. He was gone. No sign of a car, no signs of a struggle. Just faint tire tracks leading off the edge of the pavement into the brush. No usable footprints. They found the red DoorDash bag behind the vending machines by the side entrance. Inside, a half-eaten burger and a few warm fries. No receipt, no customer name, no delivery label. They ran the plate number we barely caught on the exterior cam. It was fake, didn't belong to any registered vehicle in Arizona or anywhere else. DoorDash confirmed it. No order had ever been placed for that room. Not that night. Not ever. He wasn't a delivery guy. He was casing the place, looking for an open door, and he almost found one. Now, every time I buzz someone in, I check twice. Sometimes it's not about what they're delivering. It's about what they're after. I work night shifts at a shipping warehouse in Fresno, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. It's one of those jobs that aren't the worst, but not exactly something you tell people you're proud of. It pays the rent, it keeps things steady. And before you know it, 5 years go by and the smell of cardboard and burnt coffee becomes normal. The place looks exactly how you'd picture it. Rows of conveyor belts, forklifts zipping around, steel shelves stacked 20 feet high, and a faint chemical smell that never washes out of your clothes. The break room smells like microwave popcorn and old socks. Half the vending machines don't work. The ones that do give you stale crackers or reject your dollar for no reason. The crew is fine, not close but familiar. There's Jared, who sings off-key to the RB in his earbuds. Luis, who's always 5 minutes late, holding a Red Bull in one hand and a crushed granola bar in the other. Everyone mostly keeps to themselves unless someone's complaining about the schedule or swapping horror stories about expired sandwiches in the fridge. Then one night in July, this new guy shows up. One of those agency guys they bring in when staffing is short. He didn't fit the place at all. Mid to late 40s, clean cut, crisp khakis, ironed shirt. He looked like he worked in an office, not a warehouse. No one wears khakis around here. That's how you know someone's not going to last. He didn't say much the first couple of shifts, just nodded a lot and followed the supervisor around like he was trying to figure out where to stand without getting in the way. On the third night, I ran into him during break. He stood near the coffee machine like he couldn't decide whether to risk it. Then he turned to me and asked what time our shift usually ended. Nothing strange on its own, but his timing felt off, like he was testing something. Later that night, he asked where I parked, just casually. I told him I parked in the front lot. He said his car was in the back and mentioned maybe switching. It didn't feel like conversation. It felt like he was building a checklist. After that, he began showing up wherever I was. Same break times, same aisles. Once I took a detour to the far side of the building just to get some space. 5 minutes later, he showed up, leaning on the same stack of boxes, sipping the same blue Gatorade I always bought. Another night, I noticed we were eating the exact same meal, vending machine burrito, blue Gatorade, peanut butter crackers. Coincidence maybe, but it felt too deliberate. Then I lost my key card. I always kept it clipped to my belt. I'm careful about that. One night, halfway through shift, I went to clock out for lunch, and it was gone. Vanished. I retraced every step, break room, bathroom, warehouse floor, asked around. Nothing. I spent nearly an hour searching. It was just gone. Around 3 a.m., I was sitting alone in the break room, zoning out and sipping bad coffee when I happened to glance out the window that faces the front lot. That's when I saw my car. The driver's side door was wide open. I jumped up and bolted outside, heart thudding, not out of fear, but because I knew that door had been shut. Nobody was around. The glove box was open too. I always keep it locked. Nothing looked disturbed, except for one thing. My spare apartment key. The one I tucked deep in the back corner. I went straight to security. They pulled up the footage, but our lot cam is a relic. Grainy, glitchy, maybe 15 frames per second. The only thing we saw was a blurry figure leaning into my car. Could have been anyone. Could have been him. Security just shrugged. Said they had log it. After that, I started parking under the only working floodlight on the far side of the lot. Didn't matter. Every time I walked out to my car, I felt eyes on me. Not paranoia. Something sharper. The kind of pressure you feel when you're not alone. Then I started seeing the car, white four-door, tinted windows, parked across the street from my apartment. First night, it just sat there. Next night, same spot. Third night, it had moved, closer, half a block down. Fourth night, it vanished. Fifth night, it was back again. That same week, I saw the temp standing by my station. I was labeling boxes. He wasn't pretending to work, just standing there, arms crossed, watching me. We made eye contact. I walked over, tried to keep it light, asked if he'd been in the front lot lately. He tilted his head like he didn't get the question. I told him someone had gotten into my car. He smiled, didn't blink, said something vague about how people will do anything these days. Then he walked off. Later that night, I stepped outside for a smoke during break. The lot was still and silent, but then I saw something. Movement by my car. Someone was crouched near the front wheel, not doing anything, just sitting there like they were inspecting the tire. I dropped the cigarette and ran. By the time I reached the car, whoever it was had vanished. No sound, no retreating footsteps, no engine starting. But next to my tire was my missing key card. I didn't go back inside. I sat in my car until sunrise, doors locked, eyes fixed on the lot. When I got home, I locked the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and pulled every curtain closed. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. At 6:45 a.m., the exact time I'd usually be getting home, I heard it. The soft, metallic rattle of someone trying my doorknob. I crept to the door and stood there, barely breathing. It stopped after a few seconds. Then I heard slow, fading footsteps in the hallway. I filed a police report the next day, told them everything. The temp, the break-in, the missing key. They listened, took notes, said they'd investigate, but I could tell they didn't expect much. That night, HR pulled me aside, said the temp hadn't shown up. No call, no message. When they pulled his file, it got weirder. No ID badge had ever been issued. His time card was handwritten. They called the staffing agency. No one by that name had ever been assigned to our site. It was like he never existed. Since then, I've changed my locks, installed a door camera, moved my spare key to a locked drawer in my bedroom. I don't keep anything in the glove box anymore. I don't talk much at work either. And when I walk out to my car at the end of a shift, I check the shadows. Every time. I still don't know what he wanted or why he picked me. But I know this. I keep my keys somewhere new now, somewhere no one can see. I used to work nights at a 24-hour gas station off I-90 just outside Spokane. It was one of those places people only stopped at if they were low on gas or caffeine. The manager was a guy named Curtis who barely looked up from his crossword puzzles unless something exploded. But he liked me because I showed up on time, didn't steal, and could work the graveyard shift without falling asleep. The job was boring mostly, long stretches of silence broken up by the occasional trucker grabbing coffee or a local regular buying scratch-offs. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. By 2:00, the world outside pretty much disappeared. Just empty roads, humming fluorescent lights, and the hum of the fridge cases behind me. We had a thick glass divider at the counter, bulletproof according to Curtis. I stayed behind it most of the time, especially after midnight. There was a small window at the bottom where we'd slide change or small items through, but otherwise it separated me from everything. That glass was my comfort zone. One night, somewhere around 3:15 a.m., a woman came in. She looked normal, late 30s, maybe early 40s, long dark hair, clean clothes, no purse. Just walked in and stood near the hot dog warmer like she was thinking about what to grab. I greeted her, but she didn't respond. Just stood there. Something about her was off. She didn't look tired. She didn't look confused. She looked focused. After a few minutes, she walked toward the counter, slowly. She didn't pick up anything to buy, didn't have a wallet. She just stopped right in front of the glass and stared at me. I asked if she needed help. No reaction. She just stood there, her eyes fixed on mine. Not blinking, not shifting, just locked in. I felt something crawl up my spine. I pretended to check something under the counter, just to break eye contact. When I looked up, she was still there, still staring. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled something out, a photo. She held it up to the glass. It was a picture of me. Not at the gas station, not at work, at home. I had never seen that photo before. I froze. I didn't know what to do. I stared at the photo, then back at her. My mouth went dry. She didn't say anything, didn't smile. Just slowly slid the photo into the pass-through under the glass and walked backward, never taking her eyes off me. Then she turned and walked out. I ran from behind the counter and locked the door. She was already gone. No car, no sound. I called Curtis. He didn't answer. I stayed behind that locked door until my shift ended. When the sun came up, I checked the security footage. She wasn't on it, not entering, not leaving, not standing in front of the glass. But the photo, it was still there. Proof that it wasn't just in my head. I turned it over. Nothing written on the back, just that one still image of me, taken from a distance. I quit the job that same week, and every time I step outside my front door, I check the trees across the street, just in case she's still there, watching, waiting. I work the night shift at a gym in San Antonio. It is not as bad as people think. The worst thing I usually deal with is someone forgetting their towel or blasting music without earbuds. But that night, something happened that I never forget. It was just past midnight when a guy walked in claiming he was waiting for his cousin to finish working out. I didn't think much of it at first. He had this casual energy, wore a black zip-up hoodie, jeans, sneakers, the kind of look you forget as soon as you see it. He said his cousin was running late, so he had just wait by the windows, and that was exactly what he did. He didn't sit, didn't use the machines, just stood by the row of treadmills, hands in his jacket pockets, scanning the gym floor like he was cataloging every face in the building. The longer he stood there, the more uneasy it felt. He didn't check his phone, didn't fidget, didn't make conversation, he just watched. 10 minutes passed, then 20. He started pacing. Slow, aimless loops along the perimeter of the gym. He wasn't walking to pass time, he was walking to look. I kept him in my line of sight as best I could. I wasn't alone. Jules, one of the regulars, noticed him too. She caught my eye and gave a subtle raise of her eyebrows. I just gave a small shrug. We both felt it. Something was off. By 2:45, Marcus and Devin, two powerlifters who trained at night, showed up. Big guys, quiet but reliable. They walked past me toward the weights, and I saw the guy clock them immediately. Everything about him changed. He stopped pacing. He lingered just long enough to let it feel uncomfortable. Then, without saying anything, he drifted toward the exit. A few steps before the door, he paused, nodded. That smile again, too casual, too rehearsed. And then he left, or at least, I thought he did. I stood up from behind the desk and walked over to the window, pretending to check the weather screen mounted there. But what I was really doing was watching him. He didn't get in a car. He walked across the lot, toward the darker end, and disappeared into the shadows behind the dumpster enclosure. He was not leaving. He was hiding. I went back to my desk, kept calm, didn't want to alarm anyone. I tried to finish out the shift without letting my imagination spiral. Just told myself he was gone, told myself to act normal. By 7 a.m., the crowd had thinned out. Jules left, then Marcus and Devin. By 7:10, I was alone. I clocked out, threw on my jacket, and headed outside. My car was parked near the back fence, closer to the employee entrance. I always parked there, head down, trying to shake off the tension. That's when I saw it. A car, parked in the farthest corner of the lot. Engine running, no headlights, just quiet white exhaust puffing in the freezing air. I slowed down. Could not see the driver, could not even tell the make of the vehicle in that dim orange glow from the parking lamps, but I knew it was him. I picked up my pace, hit the unlock on my key fob from 10 feet away. My headlights flashed like a beacon, too bright, too loud in the stillness. I jumped in, locked the doors immediately, and started the engine. That other car, its headlights flicked on, just once. Not full beams, not a warning, just a blink. Like it was saying, I see you. I didn't wait. I reversed out of my spot, wheels screeching, and took the turn too fast. I didn't care if I clipped a curb. I didn't look back. At the first red light, I called Leah, my best friend. Told her something felt wrong. I needed to crash at her place. She didn't ask for details, just told me to come over. I didn't drive straight there. I looped through side streets, drove through neighborhoods I'd never been in, checked my mirrors a dozen times. I never saw the car again, but I still felt it. Eventually, I pulled into a brightly lit gas station, parked under the brightest lights I could find, sat there with the engine running, just breathing, just trying to feel normal again. When I finally got to Leah's, she was waiting with a blanket and a quiet look of concern. I didn't explain much, just needed space to feel safe. The next night, I told my manager. He didn't laugh it off, didn't question me. He just walked back to the office and pulled up the security footage, and there he was. That same man, same jacket, same stiff posture, pacing, watching. The following night he came back again. Didn't come inside, just stood at the far edge of the lot, staring, hands in his pockets, motionless. We called the police. They came quickly, took my statement, told us they'd increase patrols. But unless he did something, they couldn't do much. As the officer pulled open the door to leave, he stopped. There was something tucked in the exterior handle. A note, folded tight, creased at the edges. No envelope. It said, "You looked cold. I could have kept you warm." I switched to day shifts after that. And now, no matter where I park, I always check the corners first. Thank God I haven't seen him again. But I still think about that night, the way he looked at me, the way he didn't leave.